All lies will be exposed. That's all. And anyone who takes that the wrong way, know why they take it the wrong way.
Katt Williams warned everyone, and now it's happening. When he sat across from Shannon Sharpe and said Hollywood's biggest stars were hiding something darker, they called him delusional. They said he was bitter, unstable, a washed-up comedian taking shots at the powerful. But the laughter stopped when federal investigators started naming the same people Katt exposed. And one of those names was Snoop Dogg. Court documents, sealed testimonies, and Kim Porter's alleged recordings all point toward the same circle, the one Katt called out before anyone believed him. And now the question isn't if he was telling the truth, it's how much more he still knows. Because according to new witnesses, there's real evidence linking Diddy's Freakoffs to some of the biggest names in hip-hop, and Snoop Dogg might be one of them. This isn't gossip, this is federal, and Katt Williams might have been right all along. When Katt Williams went on Club Shay Shay, he didn't just do another interview. He dropped a warning. He said Hollywood's biggest names were involved in things so dark, so controlled, that exposing it would destroy entire empires. "I don't just suspect what's happening," Katt said. "I know. I've seen it with my own eyes." For decades, the industry painted him as unstable, a wild man ranting about conspiracies. But when Diddy's homes were raided, lawsuits started piling up. And names like Lucian Grainge and Snoop Dogg began appearing in court documents. Katt's so-called crazy talk turned into evidence. He told the world he'd been collecting information for 30 years, watching, listening, and documenting. While others sold out for fame, Katt built what he called his own intelligence operation, a vault of secrets powerful enough to shake the entertainment world. "They all know I know things I shouldn't," he said, "and that's what scares them." Now, those same things he hinted at, Diddy's secret parties, industry blackmail, the use of fame as leverage, are being discussed in federal courtrooms, not YouTube comment sections. Everything Katt said about manipulation, control, and compromise is lining up with the testimony of witnesses, FBI raids, and digital evidence that connects Diddy's world to other A-list names. And when you look back, Katt wasn't predicting chaos. He was describing it, years before it surfaced. When Katt Williams dropped his truth bombs, Hollywood dismissed him. But Candace Owens didn't. She was one of the first public figures to say Katt wasn't crazy and he was early. On her show, she broke it down plain and simple. Katt Williams wasn't speculating. He was documenting reality. She pointed out that before the lawsuits, before the federal raids, Katt had already named Lucian Grainge, the same powerful executive now accused of enabling Diddy's underground network. In Katt's words, Diddy wasn't the boss, he was the muscle. Owens highlighted how Katt's interview predicted the very structure investigators are now uncovering, a hierarchy where Diddy handled the dirty work for men even higher up the chain. "Hollywood isn't a business," Candace said, "it's a gang." And like any gang, there are people at the top giving orders. That statement hit hard, because according to court filings, federal prosecutors are now using the same kind of language, describing Diddy's empire as an organized operation involving coercion, manipulation, and secret recordings. Candace called out the media for mocking Katt instead of investigating his claims, saying the industry's fear wasn't about his jokes, it was about his accuracy. "They called him a conspiracy theorist," she said, "because they knew he was telling the truth too early." Now, with Diddy facing criminal charges, sealed evidence, and witness statements aligning with Katt's warnings, Candace's defense of him looks less like support and more like confirmation. Hollywood tried to silence Katt Williams, but in 2025, the silence is starting to sound a lot like guilt. Everything changed when a man named Courtney Burgess came forward, not with rumors, but with evidence. He claimed he had 11 flash drives once belonging to Kim Porter, Diddy's ex, and the mother of 4 of his children. Those drives, according to Burgess, contained hours of footage and documents detailing what really happened at Diddy's so-called freak-off parties. When federal agents got involved, they didn't dismiss it as gossip, they seized the evidence. Burgess even testified before a federal grand jury, confirming the drives included intimate videos of 8 celebrities, 6 men, and 2 women, all allegedly intoxicated, all allegedly victims. "These aren't rumors," he said, "they're crimes." Among the names mentioned in connection with those drives were Snoop Dogg, Andre Harrell, and Diddy himself. And just like that, one of hip-hop's most respected icons was suddenly linked to the same world Katt Williams had warned about. Even more disturbing, the drives allegedly contained excerpts from an unpublished Kim Porter memoir, complete with compromising photos and details about her time with Diddy and his inner circle. Federal investigators believe Porter may have been documenting everything, Not for revenge, but for protection, because she knew what no one else dared to say. And when she died suddenly in 2018, just as heat around Diddy was building, her passing raised more questions than answers. A healthy 47-year-old doesn't just drop from pneumonia, one insider said. Not when she had secrets like that. Those drives became the missing puzzle piece. Proof that Katt wasn't speculating about Diddy's network. He was describing a system where blackmail, power, and silence ruled everything, and for the first time, the evidence had names, faces, and footage to back it up. For years, Snoop Dogg and Diddy were seen as hip-hop royalty, two legends at the top of the game, but if you believe what's now surfacing in testimony and hidden files, their connection ran much deeper and darker. Witness Courtney Burgess claims Kim Porter's flash drives included photos and footage of Diddy and Snoop in compromising positions, images that paint a completely different picture of their friendship. The rated version of the book, one insider said, showed Diddy rubbing Snoop's hand, and that's where one of the exes came from. That single image set social media on fire. But behind the headlines, federal sources reportedly viewed those materials as potential evidence of coercion and control, not just wild party behavior. Katt Williams even predicted this connection years ago, saying certain rappers sat on that man's lap as the director to advance their careers. He wasn't speaking metaphorically. He was hinting at how Hollywood power really works. A lot of people's careers went up when they played along, Katt said. They sold their soul to sit in that chair. Now, investigators are reviewing digital evidence and sealed testimony suggesting that Snoop may have been one of many high-profile figures caught in Diddy's network of leverage, a system built on secrets that could ruin reputations overnight. And while Snoop's team has stayed silent, one thing stands out. He hasn't directly denied it. When asked about Diddy's downfall, Snoop simply said he was surprised and that he tries to treat people good. But fans noticed something off. Instead of outrage or disbelief, his tone was calm, calculated, almost rehearsed. To many, that didn't sound like innocence. It sounded like distance from a friend who suddenly became a liability. The moment Homeland Security raided Diddy's properties, they weren't looking for rumors. They were looking for proof. And according to reports, they found it. Hundreds of hours of recordings, from hotel suites, private jets, and mansion parties, all allegedly showing what really happened behind closed doors. And now those tapes are being used as federal evidence. One federal witness claims she's on those tapes, alongside multiple A-list celebrities. She said what's on them is so disturbing, it's not just immoral, it's criminal. There are people who smiled in my face, she told investigators. I had no idea what really happened to me that night, until I saw those tapes. Her story matches what Katt Williams and Gene Deal both hinted at for years, that Diddy's power didn't come from his fame, it came from leverage. Everyone who attended those freakoffs left a piece of themselves behind on camera. And if that's true, it means some of the biggest stars in the world could be vulnerable to blackmail. Federal prosecutors haven't named the celebrities yet, but insiders claim Snoop Dogg's name has come up more than once, not just as a guest, but as someone appearing in the footage. When HSI takes your tapes, said one insider, it's because they believe what's on them can put people in prison. This isn't a YouTube rumor anymore. It's evidence under federal lock and key, and if what these witnesses say is true, the tapes could shake the entire industry. Katt Williams once said, "They laughed at me because I knew too much." Now those same secrets are being entered into federal record, and the people who laugh the loudest are suddenly very quiet. When Suge Knight speaks, the industry listens, even from behind bars. And now, the former death row boss has weighed in on Diddy and Snoop, confirming what many feared. None of this is new. In a prison interview, Suge didn't mince words. He said flat out that what's coming to light now has been going on for decades, long before social media or lawsuits. This been happening in the business for years, Suge said. Everybody knew. Diddy just took it to another level, according to Suge. The manipulation inside hip-hop was systematic. Young artists groomed and broken in through humiliation, control, and tests that stripped them of power. He even described an alleged boiled egg test, an initiation ritual where artists had to perform disturbing acts to prove obedience to industry gatekeepers. As twisted as it sounds, street insiders claim this so-called test was used to compromise people permanently, giving higher-ups leverage to control them forever. And who was allegedly part of those circles? Suge named names: Diddy, Snoop, Russell Simmons, Andre Harrell, the same figures Katt Williams warned about. Diddy learned it from them, Suge said. He did to others what was done to him. That one statement reframed everything. If Suge is right, Diddy wasn't just a predator. He was a product of a much older system, one that trained him to repeat the cycle of exploitation. And in that system, loyalty meant silence, because the moment someone spoke up, they were labeled crazy, just like Katt. Now, as Diddy's empire collapses and the old guard scrambles to hide, Suga's words sound less like a conspiracy and more like a confession from the inside. If we don't fix it, Suga warned, history gonna keep repeating itself. And based on what's happening in Hollywood right now, it already is. Hollywood doesn't protect people, it protects secrets. That's what Katt Williams was really saying. Every time a star falls, a dozen others scramble to distance themselves, pretending they never saw or heard anything. But the silence says more than words ever could. In the wake of Diddy's downfall, that silence has become deafening. Artists who used to party with him every weekend, people like Snoop Dogg, Jay-Z, and Usher, now act like they barely knew him. Interviews are cut short, topics are dodged, and lawyers suddenly start showing up where publicists used to be. Nobody's defending him, Suge said, because they all knew what was going on. Behind the scenes, former insiders say it's not just fear, it's self-preservation. Everyone who was part of that circle knows the FBI and Homeland Security now have hundreds of hours of digital evidence. The question isn't who's guilty, it's who's next. That's why the biggest names in the game are staying quiet. Because in an industry built on image, exposure is death. One leak, one screenshot, one flash drive, and an entire empire can fall overnight. Even Snoop, who's known for being calm under pressure, has avoided addressing his alleged role in the tapes directly. Instead, he pivots to business, family, or spirituality, anything but Diddy. And yet, every time another lawsuit drops or another witness testifies, the pattern repeats. More familiar faces, more denials, more silence. Katt Williams warned us years ago, the people you think run Hollywood, they don't. The people who own their secrets do. Now that warning has become prophecy, and the empire of silence that protected Diddy for decades is starting to crumble. When the headlines first linked Snoop Dogg to Diddy's parties, the internet expected a fight, a furious denial, maybe even a lawsuit. But instead, Snoop played it cool, too cool. In an interview, when asked directly about Diddy's downfall, Snoop said, "I'm surprised, man. I just try to treat people good, keep things positive." It sounded innocent enough until people noticed what he didn't say. No outrage, no defense, no real shock, just a carefully worded response that distanced him without condemning anyone. To many, that was a red flag, because when a man you've known for decades gets hit with federal charges, most people have something to say, either in support or disgust. But Snoop's silence? It sounded like strategy. Fans started revisiting old photos, old interviews, and old collaborations, all showing how close the two once were. And the deeper they looked, the more uneasy the picture became. Meanwhile, Katt Williams' old interview clips began going viral again. The same lines that got him blacklisted now feel like prophecy. Clips of him calling out, "Those who sat on Diddy's lap to get power," suddenly took on a new haunting meaning. Even Snoop, Katt had said. A lot of them traded their soul to sit in that chair. Now, after federal testimony and leaks from Kim Porter's alleged files, that line feels less like comedy and more like evidence. The public narrative has flipped. The crazy comedian is now seen as the one telling the truth, and the untouchable icons, they're the ones being questioned. The internet's patience is running out. For years, fans worshiped the image, the smooth-talking, weed-smoking, fun-loving uncle of hip-hop. But when federal witnesses mention your name in connection to Diddy's crimes, the smoke doesn't look so harmless anymore. Snoop's brand was built on peace, loyalty, and longevity. But the question fans are now asking is simple. Was that loyalty real, or was it just part of the deal? What's happening with Diddy and Snoop isn't an isolated scandal. It's the cracking foundation of an entire industry built on silence, manipulation, and control. For decades, Hollywood has sold us stories about fame and fortune, but behind the red carpets and champagne lies a darker truth. One Katt Williams tried to warn us about years ago. "This industry ain't built on talent," Katt said. "It's built on secrets." Every few years, another powerful figure falls. Harvey Weinstein, R. Kelly, Russell Simmons, and each time, insiders act shocked. But the pattern never changes. The same names, the same networks, the same silence. Now, federal investigators are treating the music business the same way they once treated organized crime. An empire where everyone has dirt on someone else, and those at the top keep control through blackmail and fear. Snoop Dogg's alleged ties to Diddy's inner circle aren't just damaging, they're symbolic. Because if someone with Snoop's legacy and influence can be linked to this system, it proves nobody is truly untouchable. Even now, new lawsuits and sealed testimonies are piling up. Sources claim more tapes exist, more names, more footage, more evidence of how deep this network runs. And at the center of it all stands Katt Williams, the man who saw it coming, said it out loud, and was laughed off stage for it. Now, as Diddy sits behind bars and the spotlight shifts toward his famous friends, Katt's words echo louder than ever. You can hide the truth for a while, but not forever. Because this isn't just about one man's downfall. It's about Hollywood's house of cards finally collapsing and who gets buried when it does. Katt Williams was never ranting. He was reporting from inside the machine. Everything he said about Diddy's freakoffs, the secret recordings, and the industry's chain of control is now surfacing in real investigations, sealed court files, and witness statements. And as names like Snoop Dogg start getting whispered in those same documents, Hollywood's facade of innocence is falling apart piece by piece. The truth is, this was never just about Diddy. It's about a system built to protect the powerful and silence the witnesses. Kim Porter tried to expose it. Katt Williams survived it. And now, the feds are confirming it. The question isn't whether Katt was right, it's who's next. Because if these tapes ever go public, the world won't just see Hollywood differently. It'll never trust it again. If you found this video eye-opening, hit that like button, share it with someone who needs to see it, and subscribe so you don't miss the next drop. Because the deeper this story goes, the darker it gets.